Gonna push us to YouTube. So again, welcome to our fourth of our 5 midweek Lenten programs. And we're glad that you're joining us as we, again, look forward to gathering, even if we can't in person, over these virtual means, Zoom or YouTube, to be together in community. And this year's midweek Lenten program to look at how we can get beyond the word of hope into how hope is embodied. And so as we were thinking about all the different ways that hope takes on flesh, I happened to be somehow reading some email about the Border World Mission and recent events that were going on, and then saw a great video of some of the work that had been done with Border World Mission funds, sending seeds and sending a lot of materials to Nicaragua and Honduras following hurricanes. And I thought, there's hope. And I thought, well, let me see if Brother Chris Giesler is able to speak to us. So very excited that he said yes. And as we talked about some local mission to begin our series, this is a neat way to talk about international hope and what he's been doing there. So the Right Reverend Chris Giesler will be our speaker tonight. He is the Director of Mission Engagement. I point to you as if you're like above me, but you are. He is the Director of Mission Engagement. Yeah, okay. For the Border World Mission, and he'll say more about obviously what he does as well as what is going on in recent news. Before we do that, of course, it is St. Patrick's Day, and I thought it would be good to begin as a bit of prayer and devotion to come together with it was something I was going to use in worship, and I had gotten permission from the group that put this together. And then I thought, well, since we're meeting on the actual St. Patrick's Day, let me share this this Wednesday with you. So this was done by a group of over 300 churches in Ireland that during the pandemic and came together and put together an online, what's it called? A virtual choir. That's the word, and did a virtual choir to sing traditional Irish blessings, traditional Irish hymns together. And it's just a beautiful rendition. And I emailed the source and to see if we could use it in worship. And they said, by all means, it would be great to share. So this is just called the Irish Blessing. And I think you'll find some familiar hymns in here. And I think this will be a wonderful way to begin our evening tonight. So let me share this with you.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all ends to me, save that thou art. Thou my best thou, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my life. Be thou my wisdom, be thou my truth. Christ be with you. Christ within you. Christ behind you. Christ before you. Christ beside you. Christ to hear you. Christ to comfort and restore you. Christ beneath you. Christ above you. Christ in quiet. Christ in danger. Christ in heart for all that love you. Christ in love for friend and stranger.
Go mammy and cheerna hu, agus go goody she hu.
The Lord met the light of his face, and the goodness of his heart to be brecht upon you.
The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace.
The Lord bless you
and keep you,
The Lord make his face
face to shine upon you
and be gracious to you.
The Lord lift up his countenance upon you
And give you peace.
يباركك الرب ويحرسك.
Niech cię Pan błogosławi i strzeże.
O Senhor faça resplandecer o
facă să lumineze fața lui peste
യഹോവ തിരുമുഖം നിന്റെ മേൽ ഉയർത്തി നിനക്ക് സമാധാനം.
Kó sì fún yín ní àlàáfíà.
My Lord, you have put your hand on this town. I can see it. Just as easily as I can see the enemy moving.
Well, as that ended with the one of the prayers of attributed to Saint Patrick, may we begin tonight with just the word of that prayer. Christ may come before us. May Christ come behind us. May Christ be in us. Christ beneath us. Christ above us. Christ at our left and at our right. Christ in the heart of everyone who thinks of me, in the mouth of everyone who speaks to me, in the eye of everyone who sees me, and in the ear that everyone who hears me. Lord, be ever with us. Amen. So with that, we open, and I'm glad to turn it over to Brother Chris Giesler. Again, thank you for being with us from the Board of World Mission, and we're looking forward to hearing a word of hope and international mission.
Thank you very much, and it's just a pleasure to be with you all tonight, even if it is from my home here in Bethlehem. So a pleasure to be joining you tonight, and what a great theme for your Lenten series, to somehow think about how we make hope flesh, and how we make it real, and how we make it authentic. And for me, and I think for the Board of World Mission as well, hope is really grounded in relationship, and that relationship begins with our relationship with Christ, who puts us into relationship with our eternal God, who puts us in relationship with each other. And one of the dynamic ways that happens is through music that we just heard, that ancient Irish hymn that is no doubt spoken to Christians for centuries now, through the best of times and through the most difficult of times. That hymn has brought hope for many, many people. So just hearing that and knowing that song and those lyrics have reverberated through the years, puts us in relationship with all of those folks, as does the St. Patrick's Prayer. Wonderful way to start. So a pleasure to be with you. So let me bring up my PowerPoint here. we get this straight. Now, again, are you seeing my presentation slide? I think so. Good. All right. So it is hope. Hope is grounded in relationship, and again, that comes on many, many layers, and that's certainly a part of who we are as Christians, and it's central to our mission here at the Border World Mission. I've got a presentation here of about 37 slides, so we're going to try to do that in less than a minute per slide, and I think we can do that. But at any point, please, if you've got a burning question that has to go with that slide or that part of the presentation, don't hesitate to unmute yourselves and wave me down and ask a question. But I'll also be leaving time at the end, hopefully for some conversation and questions. So, but again, here we go. The Border World Mission is, of course, as many of you know, an interprovincial agency, meaning we serve more than just the northern province. We serve also the southern province as well as the Alaskan province as well. I'll say a bit more about that as we move through the presentation. And so I begin with a thank you. I thank the Calvary Moravian Church as well as the northern province, southern province, and the Alaskan province as well. This past year, 2020, we received $255,000 from the northern province, and that $255,000 to us came from the northern province, and that comes from what Calvary shares of its budget with the northern province. Of course, the northern province supports far more than just the Border World Mission. Many other agencies such as the seminary, the archives, Music Foundation, and other wonderful ministries as well. But that's a significant chunk of our budget. It's the largest chunk of our budget that helps us to do all that we do comes through that revenue stream directly from the northern province, southern province, and Alaskan province. So again, for the part that you play in that, I say thank you in English, asante in Swahili, gracias in Spanish, danke in German, dziękuję in Czech, and in Tinkipali in the Miskito language. And again, those just some of the languages spoken by Moravians around the world. This map shows basically, again, where you'll find Moravians in the world today. The color codes on here, the green areas are mission areas of the Moravian Church. This is where the newest work is going on. These are areas that are not yet organized, but just in that beginning process of getting going. The orange colored countries are mission provinces, meaning that they have gotten to a level of organization, but not quite yet to full provincial level. So those are the orange ones. And then the blue ones are the mission or the unity provinces, of which there are 24 around the Moravian world. The mission areas are listed here, and the bolded ones, Peru and Sierra Leone, are two of the mission areas that the Border World Mission is most directly associated with, Peru and Sierra Leone. The other mission areas are divided up into to be accompanied by other of the unity provinces of the Moravian Church. These are the 5 mission provinces of the Moravian Church, and we are most directly related with Cuba, with the Honduran Mission Province, and with the Labrador Province. You'll see too the Czech Mission Province and the Honduras Mission Province unfortunately speaks to the broken nature of human relationships. Both of those mission provinces are breakoffs or church conflict caused them to have to divide to the point where we have a unity province there, and then we also have mission provinces operating there at the same time. So those are why the Czech Mission and Honduras Mission Provinces. And again, you'll hear a bit more about the Honduran Mission Province in just a little bit. Then there are the mission full unity provinces, of which the northern and southern provinces are, and those are all listed here. And again, the ones that we as Border World Mission directly relate to are Alaska, Costa Rica, the Eastern West Indies, Guyana, Honduras, Jamaica, and the Cayman Islands, Nicaragua, and then of course the northern and southern provinces here in North America, and the western province in Tanzania. Doesn't mean we don't relate to the other ones, but those are the ones that we are most directly put in partnership through an agreement at the unity level. This is so that provinces don't duplicate efforts or get in each other's way. So, for instance, we oftentimes do things with these other provinces, but we work through the province that they are most directly related to. And then there are two unity undertakings, which we all share in funding around the world, and that's the Star Mountain Rehabilitation Center in Ramallah, Palestine, what used to be the leper colony and now is a rehabilitation center, and the Unity Archives in Herrnhut that we all support. Most directly then, here's what the Border World Mission looks like and is made up of. Central to our work are the Border World Mission provinces, and these are the folks that are represented on our board of directors and directly fund our work. And that's, again, the Northern Province, Southern Province, and the Alaskan Province. The Jamaican Province, which is a full unity province, is affiliated with us, meaning that they do send non-voting delegates to our board of directors meetings, and we coordinate efforts with them. But they do not directly support us financially. But because we work so closely with each other, they do have a seat on our board so that we can, again, as we work through plans, can coordinate with them. The mission provinces, again, that we most directly relate to are the Labrador province and the Cuba province. The partner mission provinces, or the mission areas, are Peru and Sierra Leone. And then our partner provinces, Costa Rica, Eastern West Indies, Guyana, Honduras, Nicaragua, and again, Western Tanzania. So this is the group. The provinces listed on this page are the ones that we most directly partner with, and the ones that you'll most oftentimes hear us talking about when we communicate out to the Moravian world. Our purpose, or our mission statement here as the Border World Mission, again, relates directly to relationships. And that's the Border World Mission builds relationship through mission outreach and through mission engagement to be faithful to the Great Commandment and to the Great Commission. Great Commandment, you'll remember, love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength, and your neighbor as yourself. And the Great Commission is to go into all the world and make disciples. And that's what we seek to do, again, through the two major areas of our work is mission outreach and mission engagement, which you see pictured here. And the areas of this, again, that are coming up on, should be coming up on your screen. Mission engagement is the work that we do most directly with the congregations of the northern and southern provinces. This is mainly where I work. I'm the director of mission engagement for the Border World Mission. Again, and so I most directly relate to the congregations here in the northern and southern provinces. Again, doing things like mission team training, mission discernment workshops, doing presentations like the one I'm doing tonight with you all, and that sort of thing. The mission outreach side of things is the relationships that we establish with those mission partners or global partners that I talked about earlier. And again, we're doing things like beginning new work in some areas, working on church growth and development, again, in our mission areas in developing provinces, leadership development, those sorts of things. It's the work that we do primarily with our mission partners. And again, both of these areas feed each other. Through mission engagement, we hope to engage folks in mission with those global partners. Those global partners also then inform us and inform our congregations as well. So both of these sides are not mutually exclusive. They feed each other constantly. At the center of it all, we hope all of these programs encourage a Christ-centered nature, that encourage mutuality, that this is not an uneven partnership, but one that we share together, and a work towards self-reliance for all partners in the process. Obviously, this past year with the global pandemic has changed our sort of foci, the focus that we really work on just because of the nature of not being able to travel and not being able to be in so many of these places. And also by the fact that this past year, 2 of our staff members, one retired, Sheila Beeman, who was our Southern Province administrative assistant, retired, and Sam Gray, many of you know Sam, moved from his position with us to being the pastor at New Philadelphia Moravian Church in Winston-Salem. So we are still currently redoing the way we're looking at all of this, but it's caused us again to reshape our focus, at least for this moment. So the way that we've adjusted kind of the places that we're most focused on right now is providing or developing our congregational resources. And you can find these on our website, and that's Congregational Mission Discernment Programming and Mission Team Training Materials. And now on our website, once you go there, you'll find resources for congregations, and these are resources that are there for anyone to use, and you may certainly call upon our staff to come in and do these trainings as well. And then for our partners, what we're most focused on right now is translations of the historical lectures or the lectures in history. They're not historical lectures. They're lectures about history that Dr. Craig Atwood did. And we're working these into Spanish translations, again, to be used for training pastors in our mission areas. And also a Spanish translation of the new book that's been published called Our Moravian Treasures, a book about history and Moravian practice and theology called Our Moravian Treasures. And we're working on a Spanish translation of this, again, to be made available to our Spanish-speaking partner provinces for use in their training. And both of those are being coordinated, the lectures being translated as well as that book's translation. And then we're truly focused again in this past few months here on our Moravian Disaster Response, or MDR, work in Nicaragua and Honduras, which I'll say more about now as I move forward. Are there any questions about what you've seen so far? That's just sort of background on what the Moravian Board of World Mission is all about. I'll pause quickly here to see if there are any questions. If not, I will move on. So this is most specifically now where we are doing some extensive and intensive work through our Moravian Disaster Response Fund. The beginning of 2020, it looked like a relatively calm year as far as disaster responses. Obviously, the COVID-19 pandemic was huge. The first thing we did was to offer congregations here in North America $200 grants to assist in the process of moving to online worship and meetings for their congregations. And we gave out about $15,000 worth of grants to about 50 congregations here in North America to assist in that process. And we've just decided this past week at our board meetings to extend that grant again for this year, for congregations to apply for $200 grants to assist with technology in the midst of this shutdown. But in October, or should say in September of 2020, again, since we had not expended much out of our MDR fund, we decided to put together a COVID-19 relief package for sections of Honduras. And pictured there, you see Lorena Gray. This is Bishop Sam Gray's wife. Sam and Lorena did most of the legwork in arranging what needed to be purchased, along with several Moravian doctors that informed us how best to make those purchases and what needed to be purchased. We put $40,000 into that program, and it purchased things such as oxygen concentrators, nebulizers, glucometers, pulse oximeters, personal protective equipment of all sorts that we shipped from It was shipped from Winston-Salem down to Florida by truck, and then onto a ship, and then on to the port in Honduras, and then onto airplanes, and then to be unloaded. And the picture on the right side of the screen there is a prayer service being held after the initial shipments had been unloaded, a prayer service blessing those boxes before they went out to the 19 different communities to which all of that equipment went. So that's where it started. Some of it got into boats that went up the PATUCA River to the villages there, and then off of those boats and carried then into the villages where they were distributed as was needed. Most of these villages had small clinics, and they oversaw the process of all of this stuff being distributed and used as best as possible. So that was in October. And we thought that was going to be it until the beginning of November hit. Oh, there's some more pictures of the equipment itself. But then Nicaragua and Honduras got hit with not one, but two Category 4 hurricanes, Eta and Iota. And there you see their tracks. Eta came first, and then along came Iota. Both of them came on shore within 15 miles of each other, just south of the main port city in the north coast of Nicaragua, Puerto Cabezas, also known as Bilwi in Miskito. And we oftentimes refer to it as Bilwi because it's only 2 syllables and easier to say than Puerto Cabezas. But unfortunately, again, those villages where it came ashore, again, they were Category 5s just offshore, and when they got on shore, they were Category 4 hurricanes, almost again within 15 miles of each other, which is pretty incredible. Eta took a turn to the north through Honduras. Iota pretty much kept a straight line across Central America and back into the Pacific Ocean. So for the villages of Haulover and Wawabar, there was almost complete destruction, and I'll show you a video of what it looked like in Haulover in just a second, because that was really ground zero for basically both of those hurricanes. Winds carried away most especially tin roofing, which is the most common form of roofing in Nicaragua and Honduras, as well as the less sturdy homes. Floods destroyed homes even where hurricanes' winds were not as direct or strong. Flooding actually did more damage than the wind itself because it was so much more widespread. The flooding also contaminated community wells because it dumped into these wells not only things like fertilizers, but human waste from the outhouses as well. Floods along creeks and rivers also then destroyed the crops that were coming in. The rice crop comes in right at this time of year, actually harvested most especially in January, but bean crops were also lost. Combination of the contaminated water, food shortages, and increased inadequate housing certainly has increased the incidence of disease, among which are COVID-19 spread because people were crowded into areas. So this is a video done by UNICEF. This is Haulover, again, the village that really bore the brunt of both storms. The steeple that this drone will fly by is the steeple of the Moravian church there. Again, it's a small fishing village, and you'll see just basically complete destruction. Again, that's the steeple of the church. We're flying in a northerly direction, now actually a southerly direction, pardon me. To the left is the open ocean, and this, what looks like a river, actually those are foundations of homes in the middle of it. To the right is a lagoon, and basically the lagoon washed out this area and divided the village into 2 sections. This being the southern section, flying over. And again, this is actually flying back north for the moment, but again here moving south. But again, you'll see not much standing. I think there were several thousand people lived here. Again, no homes left standing, and again, not much of the church is left. So this is the damage done at Ground Zero.
Chris, is that a drone?
Yes, it's a drone. Again, done by UNICEF to do that recording. Yes, if I played it more, you would have seen the boat which they traveled to get to Haulover. Both Haulover and Wawa Bar, the next village that's right next door, have been completely condemned by the national government. The government is not offering any assistance. They're encouraging people not to go back. But of course, this is home for many, or well, for all of them. And those folks do want, some have already gone back and started to rebuild. But again, the government's threatening not to support their endeavor at all. So it puts them in a very difficult place. This is damage done in Bilwi. This is the Comenius School, the high school, which again completely lost its roof, as well as significant damage to the interior. This is the home of Dr. Kenneth Serapio. Dr. Serapio is actually the surgeon, the chief surgeon at our clinic in Aguas, Honduras. He lives in Nicaragua and spends some time there, but then spends the bulk of his time actually at the clinic in Aguas. But this is him in his home, again, basically, again, without a roof. And then significant damage. This, again, another video that I'll play for you is Waxma, which is a small neighborhood that's part of Aguas, Honduras, where our Moravian clinic is. Thankfully, the clinic is further up the hill and was not flooded out, just had some minor flooding and some minor wind damage. But this is Waxma, which is right along the river.
Muy buenos días. Hoy es día viernes 20 de noviembre del 2020. Esta es una realidad en que se vive aquí en la comunidad de Waxma, en el municipio de Aguas, en el departamento de, gracias a Dios, la Mosquitia hondureña. Los pobladores de esta comunidad.
So again, that's their main street. Completely underwater. It is now back dry. This was taken again on the 20th, 3 days after the second storm. So this was when it was at its height. Again, they have the river is back within its banks now, which is like I think 40 or 50 yards down to the behind this gentleman. Thankfully, before the second hurricane hit, the Honduran government evacuated many of the villages along the rivers because they knew this was going to be another heavy rainstorm. So this is a picture of the Honduran government assisting in that evacuation and resettlement. Again, refugees, again from the PATUCA River, villages, again here waiting for food and lodging. So the Border World Mission has responded again through our Moravian Disaster Response Fund. And I've got to tell you, all of the staff for the Border World Mission, I've only been there 2 years. Our Border World Mission treasurer, Rex Knowlton, has been there 5 years. Sam Gray, been there for about 20 years. None of us have ever seen the response that we have gotten from these storms. Since the beginning of November until the beginning of March, we have received almost $160,000 in donations. And this, again, most of it comes from congregations and individuals here in the northern, southern provinces, but also significant donations from the Moravian Church in Great Britain, as well as the Denmark and Germany mission boards. They're both part of the European province, but both have their individual mission boards. So both all of those gave significant chunks of money in grants. But again, I would say 90% came from congregations and individuals here in the northern and southern province. Again, to date, we've already distributed about 152,000, or a little over 152,000 of that 160,000 has already been released to the two provinces, the Mission Province and the Unity Province in Honduras, and to the Unity Province in Nicaragua. Given to the church leaders there, and they have then since distributed what has come through as a result of that money. So, again, that provides hope, and these next pictures that I'll show you give witness to how hope is put into flesh. Our Moravian church leaders identified these priorities for us. And they said, this is how we're going to be spending the money that you send to us. First of all, for emergency food, which was, again, hard to come by in the days and weeks right after the storms. Seeds, again, to help replant the farms that had been destroyed, primarily for corn, or rice, it should say, not corn, rice, and then beans. Again, hopefully they will see results from that in these coming months. Drinkable, potable water, medicines, and then building materials, primarily that zinc roofing. Pictured here is an airplane hangar in Managua, where we established a partnership with Habitat for Humanity for Nicaragua, and they gave us 101 emergency kits, and these kits contained some food, other immediate necessities, as well as water filtration kits or water purifying kits. And these were flown out along with aid from our Moravian church in Managua, which is on the west coast and not heavily damaged by either winds or by floods. But we established a partnership again with Habitat for Humanity, but also with Mission Aviation Fellowship that came in and actually flew these donations out to the East Coast. And again, the Border World Mission, we played the role in bringing all of those people together, thanks in great part to Rick, our good partner, Rick Nelson. Pictured here are our Moravian brothers and sisters in Puerto Cabezas, or Bilwi, receiving the goods that came from Managua. What's behind them are clothes and that sort of thing that came from our Moravians in Managua as a gift to the Moravians on the East Coast. So they are there receiving that at the airport. Then also our Moravian leaders purchased a lot of food, and pictured here in the village of Clingna, which is in Nicaragua, is a distribution of those foods. And again, all in one central place, and villagers came to receive their rations, as you see pictured here. A significant chunk of money also then went to well cleaning projects, and we were assisted in a donation from Samaritan's Purse of $10,000, but also then spending a good bit of MDR funds for this as well, to purchase pumps, to purchase hoses, and to purchase ladders, as well as cleaning materials. What pictured here in this pail is what some of the water looked like before the cleaning. And so all of these wells were pumped out, then cleaned with a disinfectant material. And you'll see a gentleman down in the well there doing that, as well as the hoses leading out. The wells are then allowed to refill with that natural groundwater. It's pumped out again to make sure that all of the chemicals are out, and then allowed to refill again with fresh groundwater, so that indeed that can now be used for drinking as well as for cooking. Another picture here of that process. And what's also significant is that money also hired workers. Again, the ones that you see here with the Moravian seal on their shirt with the yellow sleeves. Those folks were hired, so therefore paid through those MDR funds. Again, keeping money in the community. So they're the ones that went from village to village with this equipment to help clean out those wells. And of course, volunteer labor from some of the children never hurts either. So the well cleaning as well. And then another chunk of money was spent on seeds, again, for both rice and bean crops, again, to start to replant the farms that were destroyed by the flooding along the rivers. And this is a village along the Rio Coco, which is the main river that divides Nicaragua to the south and Honduras to the north. Again, this is the distribution center in this particular village along the Rio Coco. So, my friends, that's how hope gets embodied. It's not left as a notion. It's not left as an idea. It's left as real people helping to organize and to move resources into places where it is needed the most. And so, as the Border World Mission, I thank you for your assistance in making that happen. Again, the great majority of this funding came from congregations and individuals that responded to our appeals for that assistance in the Disaster Response Fund. And I can assure you that 100% of what goes into that exchange account, 100% of that goes directly out into the field. So we thank you for that. Questions or comments? That's my presentation.
Thank you, Chris. And just to second that we were very grateful that part of our extra mile giving at the end of 2020 was able to help with specifically the Moravian Disaster Relief Fund. That was one of our identified causes, receiving some extra funds, and blessed with that. So
you blessed a lot of people with
that. Yeah. But questions or comments or things you want to hear more about?
The presentation made me feel like I was down in Honduras and Nicaragua. It was really effective for me. Made me feel like I was right there.
I'm thankful to hear that. The interesting part, again, of doing this within pandemic times is with this amount of money moving, normally we would have had a Border World Mission staff member on site for at least weeks at a time. We've had to rely completely, and I think this growth for our partners in Central America as well as for us, to know that we don't always have to be the one on site, that we're trusting them to use the money as needed, and they have done a remarkable job, as you can see from the pictures, in letting us know this is where the money's going, this is what it's purchasing, and this is how it's helping people directly.
You mentioned that work is done in Palestine as well. Oh,
yes.
Are you directly involved in the?
That mainly goes through the Unity, which is sort of the umbrella organization, and I think we assist in that, but we're not directly invested or directly responsible for that. Again, that comes at the Unity level rather than on our provincial level.
Do you know how the situation is in Palestine now for the Palestinians and the COVID virus?
I think the school right now, from what I've heard last, is still somewhat on a shutdown because of COVID and because of political tensions in the area. But I think they're keeping some programs alive for things that can be done remotely, but I don't think they have anybody living on site at the moment. And there are times when they prefer to have some of their students living in residence there. But my understanding is that's not the way it is at present.
All right, thank you.
It is always a fluid situation there. And
sadly, yes.
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
I got a question for you. You talked a lot about Honduras and Nicaragua in your presentation. And I can remember from the 80s during the Reagan years, in the news constantly was Honduras, Nicaragua, El Salvador, about Guatemala, about a lot of political unrest, about insurrection, rebellions, coups, counter coups, and all of that. Is that a lot of that calmed down now in that part of the world?
Well, it has, but again, it's something that never completely goes away. Those countries are always inherently, I wouldn't say unstable, but certainly less stable than ours, although even ours was threatened to a certain extent this past year. So you know how easy things can tip. There is no active civil war going on as there was in Nicaragua in the 70s and 80s, thankfully. But there are always, some of that stuff going on. In Honduras, most directly recently, they've had to deal with turf wars between rival drug gangs, and that at times has threatened the safety of our staff at the clinic, for instance, in Aguas. Fortunately, Nicaragua and Honduras are right on the trail between South America and the United States. And so the appetite that unfortunately our country has continues to incentivize that traffic and the money that can be made from it. And Honduras and Nicaragua play a key role in that they are right on the path of where those drugs come through. And so there are rival drug gangs, certainly, that have threatened, again, the safety of our staff at the clinic in Honduras. To the point, I think we've heard that, again, if one of those gang members gets hurt and comes to the hospital for help, they will post guards outside the hospital to ensure the safety of their patient. But at the same time, that makes our staff very uneasy to have these armed guards on the campus. It's hard to get rid of them, and you hope that can quickly come and go. But it's a reality that they deal with down there. And Sam Gray's own family, as a matter of fact, one of his nephews was murdered because he was on the periphery of some of those gangs. And because he wouldn't participate at a level that they wanted him to, he was murdered on the street. So, I mean, his own family has been struck by the violence, again, done mainly because of the drug trade. So that's more a reality now than political unrest. Although, again, that's always an issue.
How is the relationship of the Cuban government to our mission there?
That is fairly positive. They're much more open to this dialogue and ongoing relationship than our government. Certainly, and I don't mean to disparage one way or the other, the Trump administration really backed off sort of the forward progress that had been happening. I think there's some hope by our Moravian partners down there that we can again travel a bit more easily in and out of Cuba to again move finances as well as to send people back and forth in Cuba. They're very excited to do more and more with us. As a matter of fact, the Cubans are test driving, so to speak, our Spanish translation of Moravian Treasures, that book I spoke about. They're doing a weekly Bible study online, or not a Bible study, but book study of that, and sort of going through that Spanish translation and helping us clean it up to make sure that it's as good as it can be. And they're excited, again, to learn more things about Moravian history, about Moravian traditions, Moravian practice, Moravian theology. So we're hoping that can, again, be a bit easier for us to manage, especially as far as travel goes.
I would assume that I always thought all Cubans were Catholic, so that is opening up a little bit.
Yeah, and there is a sort of a Cuban Council of Churches that is, again, it is predominantly Catholic, but it is open to all the Protestant groups that want to be a part of it, which the Moravian Church is a very active part of that Cuban Council of Churches. And that's actually when we send money to Cuba, it has to go through that council before it gets passed on to our Moravian church. So that's sort of how that works. But it is predominantly Roman Catholic, but there are a lot of Protestant groups operating openly in Cuba. And again, the Cuban province moved from a mission area, and now they are officially classified as a mission province, and they're working hard at becoming a full unity province as well. They're having their own synods now and have elected their own bishop, Bishop Lucindo. Other questions or comments?
Chris, how you started when at the end of this talking about not being able to send mission teams down, and obviously, and how do you see? I mean, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but how do you see the future now, kind of post-COVID? Will you look towards mission teams, or will you? I mean, you might not have decided, but how is that going to affect?
No, we want to do it. Actually, Rick Nelson is going to be sort of a guinea pig here, and it's mostly because Rick is Rick Nelson. And for those of you who know Rick Nelson, he was a Moravian missionary here from North America, from Wisconsin, but spent 20-some years in Honduras, working primarily at the clinic. He retired last year, but we have called him back into service to help us to distribute this money because he's got the contacts much better than either I have or our director Justin Robach has. So he's going down in April and should be there until May. But again, I think if it were anybody else, we wouldn't be sending them. But it's Rick, and he really wants to go, and so he'll be going. He's fully vaccinated, so he's ready to give it a try. We're not going to send anybody until we can really be assured that things are in a much more positive trajectory, and that vaccines are indeed going to be the solution, and that variants won't crop in here that could, again, at the last minute, shut borders down and that sort of thing. So we're still going to be cautious this year, and hopefully then next year. So people do want to go, and it's a valuable part of that relationship building, because most of the times when people come back, they come back changed and having been ministered to in more ways than they ministered when they were there. They come back transformed, and relationships get built that way in a way that simply sending money cannot. So there's a real value in doing that. So hopefully soon, but we just don't know right now.
Do you think it'll change, though, as you alluded, that you won't necessarily need to follow a funding source, that you feel like you have stronger connections with being able to send funds if that's what's needed without, okay. Because I thought that was an interesting allusion as well. Is it,
correct, that we're the only ones that can do the work.
Right.
And a little bit of a paternalistic attitude that we can have here in North America. And we really work in our training programs now with our mission teams to really not look at it that way. Yes, we have some gifts that can be offered. We've got access to resources that they don't. And so that puts us in that sort of position of being sort of the rich uncle to the north, and we don't want to come off that way. But we use the gifts that we do have to the best of our abilities, knowing that when we send a team, that hopefully they get transformed as much or more than what they are able to do when they're there. But yeah, that's a part of our team training program now, much more than it has been in the past.
Well, thank you. Anyone else?
Do check out our website at www.moravianmission.org. There's always lots of information there. We've also got a Border World Mission Facebook page. easy to find, and we update videos and pictures and communications that we receive on a weekly basis for sure, but sometimes even on a daily basis within a week. Things change on that site. So do check those out. You can see exactly what's going on day to day. I know there's a new video going to be posted tomorrow with more things being unloaded. So we just had shelter kits delivered that came from Habitat for Humanity for Honduras. 208 shelter kits that contain tools and kitchen utensils and mosquito netting and tarps and a variety of other things necessary. So check it out.
Great. Well, thank you. Yeah, well, this has been informative and a good to review for some of us who may not be as familiar with their overall work and the just the diversity of it, but then also centering on some immediate things that you've done with international, providing hope in international places after the recent hurricanes. So it was perfect. I'm gonna just take us off